Before I start, guys, I just need to know, am I the only one that misses the cat and wished she turned into a peng waifu? I'm not gonna lie, I was sad when she disappeared. And I don't even know if it's a she. I'm just assuming. I'm just deeply disappointed we didn't get to see a crazy transformation scene. You know, I'm a simple guy. I see a cat in anime, I assume it's a beautiful female in disguise. I'm not sure why I wanted to share this with you, but I think it's best if we pretend it didn't happen. The first thing I want to say about this episode and this series up until now is that I'm so happy that they've decided to take the route they have with this anime. Not going down that heavily comedic, unrealistic route, but showing us that there's a real consequences to all of their actions. And at any point, anyone can die. I mean, anyone can die. And I've been getting that Akudama ga kill vibes with this series, especially with the sudden and ease of the deaths that we've seen, especially in this episode. So I won't be forming any attachments to any characters because I don't want my heart to break again. And if you've watched that series, you definitely know what I mean. And I would advise anybody listening to this to do the exact same thing. Don't fall in love with any of the characters. That's the warning before this episode starts. So, on the subject of this week's episode and why this series has so much potential with its ability to create real emotion, engaging your thoughts and attention, but not really pushing you towards believing or attaching yourself to any particular group. There was no moment within this episode or the previous episodes where I felt that the events taking place had to follow a particular course so that I would be fulfilled or happy. As pointed out by the lady who seems to be running the executioner group, both Akudama and the executioners are more or less one in the same, with one obvious difference which I will touch on in a sec. But at face value, especially if you are to believe the mini animated propaganda messages we see within the series and the show, which at this point I hope you don't believe what they're saying, but if you did, you'd be led to believe that the executioners are the truest form of justice. But really, in this particular system, they are two sides of the same coin. The only clear difference being how they are viewed and the label society has given to them. But at this point, it is clear that the executioners are definitely not good people and are used to continue the system that we've seen so far. And as this becomes more obvious during the show, I think it will really allow us to enjoy it more, as we don't have to have this basic interaction between good versus evil, but instead we get a more deeper, more real showcase of a complex society and two complex forces within that interacting. So next on the agenda is Brawler versus the Executioner, and the first words that come to mind is stunning and beautifully directed. Like throughout, I was like, wow, seeing all those raindrops and just the switching between the scenes. Oh my days, like there was so much emotion in that fight, and seeing them go full out against each other, having significant consequences to their battle and interaction, just ramps up everything in this show. Like from now on, every fight I see, I know and expect that there's a possibility we can lose one of the members at any point, making it more unpredictable, which you really need in a good series. I also really enjoyed that during the fight we got to see the interaction between the lady who seems to be heading the operations and the female executioner whose partner is fighting Brawler, and we're given a glimpse into the history between both the executioners and Akudama, and also what has led them to having an increased success in terms of the amount of survivors from their clashes, which was a ridiculous 80%. And for me, this really showcased the extent to which their minds are being held hostage by whoever created this system, as they have such belief in their need to value eradicating Akudama to the extent that they don't even value their own lives. Seeing the system and the part they play in keeping it going as more important, which is just crazy to me because it's never really that deep, but we move. Also with this, we can see how practical and corporate like the executioner's function, holding on to a large sum of data, clearly analysing it and forming solutions to improving their operation. And one of the improvements that was introduced to us was a student and master system or partnership, allowing them to create real relationship that led to deep emotional ties being built, meaning they were less likely to be reckless during any confrontations. And this was said to be the only thing that separates them from Akudama, which really emphasized the action taken by their male executioner. To go alone to face Akudama, he's showing us that he's prepared to risk everything and willing to die and doesn't want to be held back during this fight. And this allowed us to get that incredible fight between him and Brawler, which ended up with both of them dead. R.I.P. Brawler. I really loved that guy. That's real bro right there. That's a real one. You'll always be remembered. But I do believe this death is very important for the show, both to emphasize that, as I said earlier, anybody can die, and also it allowed us to see a lot of significant character growth. For example, Hoodlum, who was definitely in his feelings after seeing his bro dead and bleeding out on the floor. And even though Hoodlum is sus to me in terms of his antics, we can really see his progression in this episode. You would definitely expect him to run or hide or look for the next strongest individual to stand behind, but no, he picks up the lightsaber and he goes to work. I was definitely surprised by the emotion he displayed, and taking on the other executioner in that moment was very, very wild and off character for me, and that makes him a real ride or die. And at the end of this episode, we see that she took a lot of damage from that exchange, so that's a MVP play for Hoodlum. So moving on to the two young children, my thoughts since last week's are there some sort of experiment or robotics, especially with their lack of social skills and the weird things they tend to point out, like the fact that they don't need to eat but can. And obviously in this episode, what really stood out was their ability to heal after being stabbed through by a cutthroat when he used one of them as a human shield, which Swindler was in her feelings about. And I understand why she's like this, but for me, the motherly love thing, she needs to chill with that because she's doing a bit too much, just for me personally. By the way, I don't condone stabbing kids, even robot ones. I just have to make that clear before you guys overthink this. I've been recently playing a lot of Among Us, and anyone who's still alive at this point within the show is very sus to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if anybody involved in this group just comes out to be the imposter. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And obviously there's been a lot of chat about Swindler being the imposter and not being a normal girl who accidentally got involved in all this. And to be honest, I wouldn't put it past her at this moment in time. But I'm just saying, guys, let's not put all our eggs in one basket, because that's what they want you to do. That's what the imposters want you to do. Overall, it was a great episode. Stunning animation, good character development, especially Hoodlum and the executioners. I'm not happy with the death of Brawler, but if he can die, anyone can die. So I'm excited to see what happens next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick review. Like, comment and sub. Would love to hear your thoughts about this episode. And as always, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Peace.